I really do enjoy, before we get into this, Happyzerg, I love his playstyle, so you guys are going to be in for a treat, but his opponent, pretty scary nonetheless. Let's get into this, or take it away.
Starting in the upper right-hand corner of your screen in that most beauteous color you've ever seen before. That's right, in the orange, it is Happyzerg.
Yeah, anytime I see orange, it's kind of like, orange's got dibs.
Yep.
His opponent, though, in the lower right, you may know him as another name, but today he is here as Roxkis.Pro7ect.
Jagon, if you know him as Protect or Project, please keep that in your mind. We're going to be calling him Jagon. And he's building a supply depot. Fascinating. Tell me what your thoughts are on that, Riff.
Well, if Jagon's got half a brain, he'll do what every Terran player does at this stage of the game and get a Reaper or two out on the field. Whether he gets more or not, I mean, we saw Cass earlier go for, well, it's too many Reapers, but in Zerg vs Terran matchup, you can't really afford to do that. You can go for something crazy like 5 Reapers, but that's really playing risky, and that's really banking on your opponent being bad. Something that is not going to be the case here. Now, I don't know if these guys have a history of playing against one another or not, but Happyzerg, man, he is just... Here's the thing about him, and I actually want to do like an interview series with him talking about this. If you watch his stream, this guy is a top-notch Zerg player. Like, a lot of people know the name Demaga, they don't know Happyzerg maybe, but he's probably on the same tier in my eyes as Demaga. Demaga definitely a better player, no question about it, but these guys practice each other, with each other, if that gives you any reference to how good of a player Happyzerg is. Now, a lot of what I'm saying sounds like nonsense. What does this have to do with anything? The point is, Happyzerg, I've talked to him about this actually several times in the past, where sometimes just something as simple as being cast, being in a tournament, he actually suffers from the sort of, you know, the jitters, if you will, the nervousness. And I would hope that doesn't come into effect here today. Because he is somebody who, I know he's got it in him to win big, but he's just always shut down by his nerves. So today, I don't know, he's doing really well so far. He's made it to the quarterfinals plenty of times before in the past for Zotax, but so has Jagon.
That'd actually be really interesting, because he's not the only player to suffer from that, where they're amazing, but they just don't quite get the results because of that. So, I'd be really fascinated to hear the psyche part of it. Do you know how old he is?
Oh gosh, he just had a birthday. I really couldn't tell you. All I know about him offhand is he's like 7 feet tall and he's got a cup the size of a bowl.
All right. The Overlords here coming in to get a little bit of a scout off at the same time. The Jagon has that SCV moving out. We already have the command center going down on the low ground. Choice is Marine first, so we're not going to see the Reapers.
Yeah, one thing too to comment, again, I'm talking a lot about Happyzerg, I'll stop after this, but one thing I do like that he does that a lot of players, I feel, start to need to do, is he incorporates very early Overlord speed. It allows him to do so much more scouting, and it's not going to be super fast, like, oh my god, 5-minute Overlord speed by any means, but he gets it a lot earlier than Layer Tech most of the time, and scouting information in this matchup is so essential.
Factory coming down now for Jagon as he's taking out those evil, destructible plates, which everyone hates. And, oh no, we're going to have our first blood of the game in the center of their SCV being chased down by a Zergling. At the same time, fairly early metabolic boost, just based off of this matchup in general in Heart of the Swarm. The tendency is to push off that speed upgrade for as long as possible. But actually, 8 Zerglings are going to come out, so we might see Happyzerg pressure since the command center is on the low ground, and there really hasn't been much of a chance to build up a defense. That
But he sees the bunker, and it's really limited on what you can do versus a bunker. You can get in to deny mining on the top half of the minerals as 4 patches, but that's really about all you're limited to.
Yeah. Happyzerg does hide his Zerglings there from the SCV, who is finally, maybe eventually gonna, there he does go down. And yep, here we come across the map, and a round of drones is going to follow this up. So Happyzerg really just wants to poke in.
I like that he pulled workers off gas too. He's just playing this really casual, and by not being completely gasless, this isn't an all-in, but this will allow him to start moving towards the idea of getting a 3rd hatchery out just that little bit extra quicker. Now he's going to come in here again with these Zerglings, but there's not a whole lot he can do. Helling's so now in the field too.
Oh, yeah,
actually does get an SCV. Time. 2 SCVs.
Oh, those Hellions, one more hit, and a lot of Zerglings would have roasted. 3rd command center on the way for Jagon. He seems really unimpressed. He's just going to continue with his Hellion production. Actually also has Marauder on the way fairly early for that. Meaty Force, perhaps trying to protect him from some sort of early Baneling shenanigans. And again, Jagon with the stim on the way as well as the Widow Mind. What would a Terran player do without them?
I really like the evolution chamber choices too. After seeing so many Hellions on the field, he wants to make sure he's just not going to be the sufferer, is that the right word, of any sort of run by. If it's not a word, you know what, Urban Dictionary, I'm going to enter that in later today.
He's not going to be the suffragette of it.
Suffragettes? What is this, like 1812 London?
I wonder who else got that though. Zerglings tried to poke in here, see that the gas was down. Hellion's in a nice position to say, "Go away, you."
Or
double engineering bay. Yes.
Did you watch Selfridges?
Hmm?
Did you watch a TV show called Selfridges by chance?
No. Sorry.
There's a big focus point on the suffragettes, but never mind. We have that third base up for Happyzerg. Of course, there's nothing here just yet, but these Hellions just waiting for some roasty toasty.
I can't believe that Zergling got 2 SUV kills. Oh,
well, citizens arrest for the serial murders of Joe and Bob. Yeah, I mean, take a look at what's going on right now. Happyzerg, he's getting his slow tech up. He's got +1/+1 on the way. Baneling Nest coming out as well. But for the time being, it's funny. He's got a lot in the field, but nothing that really is going to too effectively deal with these Hellions unless he can pull off that surround. Does get one Hellion. He's got to be careful engaging around the mineral lines, of course.
Hellion are doing a pretty decent job here. Queen is poking away slowly but surely, but wow, a lot of Zerglings just died there. Although only 3 Hellions coming out in the end. If only their carcasses stuck around for a while, this would be a bloody area of the map.
Well, at the end of the day, though, it's a lot easier to lose those Zerglings than it is the massive amount of drones that could have potentially have been at that base.
This is true, and that Baneling Nest just finished up. Behind that, we have centrifugal hooks on the way, melee attacks, and now a spider. What's that going to be for, Riff?
I don't know, Ord. I hear there's like a particular unit that comes from Spire that pairs well with Zerglings and Banelings.
Yeah.
Can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. It'll come to me later. Maybe if this was... Maybe if this was Zerg versus Zerg, I would recognize the name, but... Now, the thing about this is... Okay, you get Mutalisks out in the field. They're great against medevacs. They're going to shut down every drop as long as you see them coming. The problem with them, though, the big catch is they're not very good against what most Terran players will have, and that's combination Widow Mines and Marines. So, a big sort of catch I find a lot of these Zerg players getting caught in nowadays is they make too many Mutalisks, or they give up on the production later on. Either way, you need the Mutalisks on the field to shut down drops, and that's got to be the focus point of Mutalisks. If you put all your resources into them, suddenly you're not very effective against Widow Mines and Marines. And if you put not enough into them, suddenly you get 3 or 4 drops going out on the field, you can't keep up with all of them. So there's this really fine number that you have to be able to get, and just be absolutely perfect with your control. Happyzerg, I gotta say, he's got some nice Overlord spread. Being very active on the map, he will probably catch most, if any, medevacs that leave the base, but for the time being, we don't have any out just yet. We got a lot of barracks that just came out of production, this huge groundswell of an army, but no drops coming out just yet, so he's got some time. You just gotta chill back for the time being, going for those flyer attacks as well.
Actually, yeah, both players with a really large influx in their army size there. Happyzerg had 21 larvae available. I thought they were going to be mostly for Mutalisks, but then all of a sudden decided to go pretty much pure Ling with it. Does see that third base is up, kind of pokes at a couple of SCVs. Nothing really happens over there.
Well, the choice to go Ling is not so much for the Zerglings, but more so for those Banelings. You need massive numbers to engage your Terran head-on. You know he's going to have 6+ Widow Mines scattered across the field. You will absolutely lose Banelings from trying to engage them. Yep, there we go, 14 Banelings coming in. Probably see another 10 more if I had to guess, but we'll see. Depends on the timing of this engagement.
Yeah, and Jagon is moving out. He's going to pick off an Overlord for free along the way, which actually does momentarily supply block Happyzerg, who's got his Overlords quite a bit away from coming out. This fourth base would have probably been exposed if Jagon had tried to poke in at that exact moment. He only has 2 medevacs, though, to heal up these Marines. Yeah,
it does have to be awfully careful. There we go, more Banelings on the way. And these Mutalisks, yeah, they're going to pick off these medevacs. The Marines are actually completely out of position. Oh, the nice boost, though, does keep them alive.
And the Widow Mine! So
still
close.
lives.
Thought about it.
Now this creep spread is actually very important. For those who don't know, the Baneling speed is that much better on creep. You can actually outrun most stimmed units. There's nothing that really outruns speed Banelings on creep, and that's really important when it comes to dealing with connecting to these Widow Mines. But a pre-split here out of Jagon, Kind of expects this turn for us, and Happyzerg gonna lose a lot of Zerglings to that Widow Mine.
Oh, and there's actually a run by going on to the very north there, the third base.
But there's a bunker and a Widow Mine.
Oh, Widow Mine doing a lot. Actually, that's going to pretty much do nothing. At the same time, though, Jagon tried to push forward. Mutalisk, great control there from Happyzerg. He's kept these so big.
Drop at the main, though, while it's going on 2 dropships unloading in full. Only a Queen to protect. It does go down. And these Widow Mines trying to... Oh, they want to burn, but they just can't.
Oh, so many Banelings there actually detonated unnecessarily. A little bit sad, but there's still a huge force for Happyzerg at the front. And there's nothing there.
He dealt with that multi-pronged aggression very nicely, though. He had a lot to worry about. He went for his own run by, and at the same time, a drop going in his own main. Yet, in the end, didn't lose really much of anything for it. Just the Queen goes down.
True, and look what we have on the way now for Happyzerg.
Yeah, this is actually quite nice. It's going to hit at a timing where there's only 1 tech lab available on any of these barracks. No siege tanks on the field. Ooh, that Widow Mine again doing a lot of damage, but running right through to the mineral. And meanwhile, being pushed forward here is Jagon. Huge, just swell of units surrounding everything. Widow Mine hits doing a lot of damage, but there's so many more units behind this. It didn't really matter.
Yeah, he had nice ground control too with those Widow Mines at the top there. Really Happyzerg needs to get some Ultras into this army. It doesn't have any meat at all. These Banelings and Zerglings are just going to melt away to the medevac supported Marines. Oh, but not if they do that. The Marauder walks away. He's fine. He's fine.
A big scary thing too, 4 Ultras. You got to keep in mind, they get caught in that same trap that Mutalists do, where you don't want to make too many of just Ultralists. You do need a good number on the field, but having too many will cause you to lose a game.
Yeah, drop down to the lower right-hand corner there. Does get cleaned up by static defense.
In the main.
At the same time, though, everywhere else.
Again, there's not enough Mutalists on the field to catch these drops anymore, and Happyzerg just suffering for this. At the 4th base, finally all these units are cleaned up. That big push from Jagon continuing to go forward. Widow Mine's positioned here very nicely. They do have the tunneling claws, so they're going to be burrowing very instantly.
Yeah, now finally Zerglings are flooding forward to the front, and the pickup has to occur. The supply difference was at 60 there for a moment or two. Happyzerg needs to get some drones back on the field, finally gets those Ultras out, and they're going to be enough of a meat shield probably to keep him in the game.
75 drones is more than enough to have on the field at this point. Just needs to resaturate them separately. Maybe we got 20 out of 9 of them main. But yeah, the Ultras on the field could be a huge factor when it comes to taking these engagements head on. They soak up so much of the damage, and the Ultras damage of itself is scary, sure, but they take those 3 or 4 Widow Mine hits that would otherwise kill tons of Banelings, and they're so important to have on the front lines.
Jagon actually going to clean up a few of these extra drones that are in the main. I can't believe there's still no defense at all up there. It's the 3rd time, and a huge amount of the army actually comes back to respond to that. At the same time, Jagon thinking about pushing forward towards the 4th base, but there's Ultras and Zerglings there. Widow Mines do actually kill a lot of the Banelings off. Widow Mines again kill more and more. And now these Ultras are the only things. They've got to retreat. Got to get back to the creep in the support of the
He doesn't have the chitinous plating. He doesn't have the armor to really engage these Marines like this. Ultras go from being very squishy to very strong with the difference of that armor upgrade. But Infestor's coming out, try and go for the fungal. Do not barely miss that medevac.
At the same time, we still have units up in the main doing more harassment, and yet another Queen goes down. Overlords are dropping more. Zerglings are being created, and finally some Zerglings are trying to come back, waiting on their friends to arrive so they don't engage uselessly. And finally, Jagon has to retreat. But this is not the game of attrition that Happyzerg probably wants.
No, a lot of things just going wrong here or there for him, and one of the problems I gotta say too is no Mutalists on the field anymore. He's got no way to really shut down these drops. He's just forced to take them head on. And if there was, yeah, coming into the main, if there's 3 Mutalists, 1 Mutalist even, he would have picked off these medevacs a long time ago. But Zerglings are actually in position this time to respond to the Marine drop. Push from the south though, slowly gonna start going forward. Widow Mine's burrowing to advance. And loading up for a drop.
Trying to tempt those Zerglings in, and there they go! Oh, everything melts away. Overseers do manage to clean up the Widow Mines, but now the Marines kind of get in here uncontested. Some Marauders now with concussive shells. Oh, lots of stuff blowing up down here at the 3rd base location. This is just kind of sacrificing supply, honestly, out of Jagon. He's not really accomplishing all that much. He's got the Planetary Fortress at his 4th base. Still some Widow Mines in the center of the map.
That's what medevac with 30 health.
Yeah.
He fungled it and walked away. I don't know what's really going on with that situation. But again, from the south, we got a drop in the lower right corner of the map. Does cancel the base. However, big push coming through the center. Oh, and he's got to be careful.
Infestors.
Well, the infestor that died did have no energy, so not the biggest loss in the world. Nice fungal, but has got to be able to connect with more of these units. Ultra's going to come in here and just start cleaning up this bio.
And those Widow Mines actually not getting quite the money shots that they wanted to. I just realized what I just said. Never mind that. And Marines and Marauders still attacking down at the third base location. So Happyzerg, who wanted to push forward, kind of pulls back now, decides that he actually can. And Riff, we've got a Greater Spire on the way.
Yeah, the Broodlord's transition is a little questionable. The biggest thing is the fact that there is no Viking production on the field at all. But we got building armor and Neosteel frame on the way. I don't even know who upgrades this anymore. I guess Jagon thinking I've got a lot of resources. Why the heck not? But this top left base finally will be able to land. The creep spread will slowly begin to recede. But Happyzerg really struggling to find himself a sturdy economic foot. The drops have ceased for the time being, but trying to get this fifth base up really important at this stage of the game.
And Jagon, with his supply, or rather his command center up in the north, has been floating in the air forever. Finally did kill the Overlord that was there as a drop gets cleaned up at the fourth base of Happyzerg, which has really been where all the combat has been in this game. And now Happyzerg finally looks like he's going to be able to push down and take that bottom base.
The Ultras were spazzing out there for a second.
Yeah.
Yeah, Medevac going to get out alive, but again, the problem for Happyzerg, right, he's been playing on the defensive all game. There's been no point where he's really had the opportunity to push out. He's wanted to, and he's postured to several times, lots of little run-bys, but actually in the north here, a really nice victory if he can get the planetary before it finishes. Instead, he's focusing the SCVs. A not bad choice, but now he can't deal with Command Center anymore. Oh, you will get it. There we go.
And it does finish. It's going to get a couple of kills here, but it's completely dead. That Neo is still not quite out yet. Or rather, Terran building army, sorry. And this force at the bottom of the map, nice fungal actually scanned forward, sees the fact that some Broodlords are on the way, and the tank car taking out those infested Terran completely. And Happyzerg's attacking into this little choke, and Jagon's trading fairly effectively.
But the big catch here for Jagon, of course, is he's nearly maxed. He cannot actually afford to make Vikings in any capacity. So these Corruptors are going to take out the Medevacs. A couple of Broodlords will run over the army, and these Ultralists with these Fungals are doing so much damage as is.
Nice little attempt at a stutter step, but they're just so overwhelmed. Jagon's got to get out of there. He could boost out, but oh, Corruptors say nope.
They pick off the Medevac with units in it too. I mean, just dumb luck, but either way worked out very nicely.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, Happyzerg completely in control of this game, completely wiped that out, and the Overlord that spread creep for a good 10 minutes in this game at the fourth base of Jagon does die. That creep will go away. What word was I going for? I don't know.
Well, Jagon, I gotta say, the posturing of his army's been great all game. And the fact he's constantly been applying pressure, again, another drop heading towards the main, absolutely great. Gonna drive Happyzerg back once more to try to defend against this, but this Ultralist composition is not what's so scary, it's the Broodlords. Any other situation, yeah, you could just stim Marines under this, but he can't afford to make that many Marines. He needs the Marauders out in the field to deal with the Ultralists. There's this really deadly catch-22 where if Jagon just barely doesn't have the right kind of units on the field, he will lose this game.
This is true, and again with that harassment into the main, yeah, and they just get to go back and forth, back and forth. One Corruptor there, that's just kind of a cute idea. Spore Crawlers on the way, and that should have happened a long time ago, but at the same time, to the bottom of the map.
Canceled at least, so not killed. Happyzerg doing a great job of minimizing his losses, but look at his bank right now. It's pretty much non-existent.
And Bane Nest goes down there actually to the Marauders. So that's a nice little win here. Ultra Cavern also halfway dead already. The Marauders, if they had stimmed and focused that, may have been able to get it, as it takes Zerglings forever to kill them when they're healed.
But again, this big, ugly problem rears its head where it's Happyzerg is without that extra base. He's trying to get this established, and Jagon, with these small little drops, are actually doing a ton of damage. Meanwhile, Overlord did again drop creeps, so this base for Jagon also being denied. A great way to utilize creep abuse.
That Marauder drop being actually fantastic in the end with the damage each of those units was able to do. Actually, going back to the statement you made earlier, if the upgrades might come into effect as we're looking at the split map scenario, it's something that Flash does and Innovation does every now and again. Those are, I'm going to just say, they are the two best Terran in the world, perhaps the two best players in the world, period. In this game, though, we're looking at a composition of 7 Medivacs, 18 Marauders, 35 Marines, and 10 Widow Mines.
Look at this changeling army. Now, of course, the scary thing is we do have Caduceus Reactor, or sorry, not Caduceus, wow, no one ever goes to that, Corvid Reactor, bleh, going up for this Raven potential coming out next, and the thing is, Ravens are going to be great at dealing with the Broodlords. They're going to be effective at dealing with the Infestors, but the problem is, Secret Missiles, they tickle Ultralisks.
Broodlords kept alive by some sacrificial Queen Transfuses. They go down. Broodlords stay. Infestors wandering out to the front here. Gonna go up against SCVs. They actually lose that fight a lot of the time. These Widow Mines not as effective as they could be, as most of this force is Ultralist Broodlord.
Well, there's more than enough Corruptors to deal with. The Marines stepping forward are the kind of the big hope here of Jagon to stay in this. But the Ultralists and these Fungals are just too good. Happyzerg just powering through this, really brute forcing his way into the base here of Jagon, and these hold position Marines make him think the army's maybe a little bit bigger than it actually is. Either way, Ultralists still trying to deal with the ground forces. Most of these Vikings have been cleaned up, and this small amount of Broodlords are actually also going down as well. So I mean, both players actually losing the majority of their forces to this fight.
Yeah, and the spread there was fantastic. Out of Jagon, actually, the Changelings holding back half of the army turned out to be kind of a good thing for him, as they didn't get any Fungals thrown on him. And wow, Happyzerg, so much of his force getting caught there. Broodlords disappearing, Ultralists disappearing. Now we have Marines, Marauders, Vikings against Zerglings.
The Vikings actually landing, because, yeah, there's nothing left in their chute. The Corruptor's just going to pick them off around the air, but pushing forward here slowly, the drone's kind of being evacuated. There we go, full evacuation of this base in effect, and checking the production tab once more. We got Ultralists, Zerglings, everything coming on the way, but Jagon just really quite scary with this small amount of bio he's left on the field.
And basically the only thing in production for Happyzerg, there were Zerglings, a couple of Ultralists trying to come out. This bottom base, it's probably forfeit. Zerglings come in to try to protect it, but they're unsupported, so they're just streaming in one at a time.
These stims are really hurting Jagon's forces. Look at this, couple Banelings are taking out Marauders, something that should not happen, because they've got no health. Oh, but GG's called.
And normally that would be a best of 3, and we'd be like, alright, game number 2. But that was still round 6. So Jagon moves on into the grid